Netflix released the new Devil May Cry anime, and when I tell you I've been anticipating the hell out of this since before it was a thing, I mean it. Let me be clear. I am a big, in all caps, Devil May Cry fan. It is literally one of my top 3 video game IPs of all time. You don't get it, okay? I love Devil May Cry. So when something new releases carrying the name, I am, and always will be, hypercritical of it. However, I am fair. How fair? We're gonna spin off for a second. Ready for a hot take? The DMC Devil May Cry reboot was a mechanically good game with terrible design choices for iconic characters of the franchise, some of which were actually pushed on to Ninja Theory by Capcom themselves, including arguably the biggest issue that many of us had with it, Dante's overall design. This resulted in the game taking unneeded shots at the fanbase that killed its momentum before it even had a chance to take off. But, hear me when I say this, it was, in every way, mechanically, a good game. And there are 2 ways they could have fixed it. We'll talk about that some other time, where, I explain what could have happened to make this a good game. But for now, we're talking about the anime. We're not beating around the bush here with my opinion. There are various inconsistencies, many personal preferences I wish were taken, and more faithful steps that could have made a better impression on fans. But, booty butt cheeks, it was still good. And a season 2 could be even better. Let me tell you why. Spoilers ahead, obviously. So, first, we're going to talk about the world of the Netflix anime. Everything is essentially modern day, if not near future. Cars and planes and everything, we see all of those. Things look new and pristine. The sky is all bright, beautiful, and pretty. Most OG DMC fans might feel a bit off about this, and the reason for that is because that's not the world of Devil May Cry. At least not the one we would expect. Looking at the games gives off a nighttime and dusk feeling for all the different settings. At best, the sky is a bit gray. It's moody and foreboding. This could be early 2000s angst, but that's part of what makes DMC's environments what they are. The sky usually doesn't clear until daybreak at the end of the game. 5 is probably the only exception to this, but it still manages to give that aesthetic in an updated way, I guess. Futuristic, however, is something that has never been a part of the DMC feel. Everything's been draped in its own era with a beautiful twist of Old English-like Gothic architecture. The anime being set in a vibrant New York is pretty surprising. However, the end gave the feeling for how that could change. The state of the world looks like it could be on the decline, which would give us that rundown look that we're used to. Maybe humanity is set back a few steps by the time Dante is awake again, literally placing us in the perfect space for the feel of Dante's awakening. If this is the intended direction, that's perfect. Draw new fans into a modern world and course correct by having humanity stumble. The world building is built into the storytelling immediately. Let's talk about the leaks real fast. So the Evanescence music video for Afterlife has some scenes that are clearly not featured in the anime. If you haven't seen them, what's wrong with you? It's a good song. More on that later. The scenes have Dante firing Ebony and Ivory. That alone is prepping us for a fix, but I think there's much more to it than that. Dante not having his signature twin pistols was a bit off-putting, but seeing that callback to the original DMC novel in every other set of pistols he used was exactly what I needed. If you're unaware, the reason Dante ruins every set of guns he fires isn't just his grip strength, it's his trigger fingers. Dante is firing the weapons so fast that they are mechanically breaking down. Ebony and Ivory were literally made to withstand that and much more. These scenes give us a hint towards more of the series. I actually think we're getting the Redgrave lore in this. At least, I hope we are. If Season 2 is set in Redgrave and we get this Nell Goldstein setup properly, I think we'll have plenty of room to grow into the positive. Since we touched on it, the soundtrack. Aside from the millennial reach of Last Resort and Rollin', it's good. And I mean it. Afterlife is good because it's a new song with a solid feel for the DMC energy. I've got nothing against Papa Roach, but Last Resort does not hit the way DMC songs should. Farther away from that is Limp Bizkit's Rollin'. I decided to let it go at the time, even though I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan in the slightest. But this is definitely the worst song addition by a mile to me. I get how it's supposed to, be framing Dante's carefree nature, but I just don't feel it. Now that we've got that out of the way, the rest of the soundtrack by Power Glove is insane! This gives that real DMC energy. Every song has an edge or a tone that really screams Devil May Cry. I could feel these songs in the same way that I felt the DMC 3 and 5 soundtracks. They are serious. Bro, I'm not joking. Power Glove set this shit off. Like, ever since I heard Monster in the teaser, I was hyped. But the ending theme being Devils Never Cry in that lullaby verse, oh my god. Well played. Because I was locked into that. Like, no matter what, I was like, yeah, I'm not skipping any of these outros. That's ridiculous. You could swap the Power Glove songs into any DMC game and they would thrive. I mean it. I have nothing but good things to say about that. Power Glove in this anime, oh my god. Bring them back and let them loose for Season 2. On top of that, stick with the Evanescence move for new music here. Maybe reach out to other good artists too, as long as it's fairly new. Heavy enough and fits the DMC world. I want to hear it. Okay, we had a lot to complain about as a fan base as far as inconsistencies go, but let's rapid fire some of these things. I can forgive Rebellion not being in its unawakened state. It does irk me, but I don't know, we're here now, so oh well. The only way we can course correct it is to have Rebellion seal itself when Dante is put to sleep and then give him issues unlocking his Devil Trigger for a few episodes or something. If we push humanity back through their hubris by using that Bunny's mechanism to, open and close demon portals, we can lose all the future tech and even lean into demon tech. That puts our girl Lady back to just using guns and Kalina Ann, which would handicap her and immediately make her more badass because she's still going to be killing demons with nothing but her own skill. Yeah, screw the suit, forget it. Speaking of Lady, oh god, please clean up her dialogue. She doesn't have to be the most well-spoken, perfectly mannered woman in the world, but please just have her chill out on the F-bombs. Sheesh! Whatever else she has to say it, but limit her to like 2 F-bombs per episode. Please, it was too much. We've all said it. Alright, big topics again. So the bosses and their usage are not so glaring of an issue. I get it. They flex by having bosses from just about every game. Plasma from 1, Agni and Rudra from 3, Echidna from 4, and Cavalier Angelo from 5. They even had a slight cameo at the end, with Arius from 2. The problem we had was that it felt like they were wasted because, well, they are, for the most part, a huge deal. All these bosses are extremely weak compared to their video game counterparts. Hell, Echidna took over an entire biome in DMC 4. The 2 biggest issues here are Cavalier Angelo and Agni and Rudra. So Cavalier shouldn't even exist, which I can just write off completely. It would have taken way too much time to get him set up into the first season just to, follow the canon. It's fine. Agni and Rudra, they don't have bodies. Like, they're legitimately just the swords. Again, they are iconic. If you never got another opportunity to do this, it would have been a waste. But one line towards the beginning might have saved this. Something along the lines of more powerful demons being unable to fully manifest in the human world. If we run with that, we can straight up hand wave away all of the issues we had with the bosses, except for Cavalier, of course. But my point here is that If demons were all just projecting because they couldn't use the gate, it explains why they're all weaker. It explains the anatomical differences, and it explains why they're all there in the first place. And also sets them up for a real future appearance. If we just never see them again, then we never see them again. But I at least think Agni and Rudra deserve a bit more justice. Plus, it would be fun seeing how Dante sells them off later. If you don't know, the only thing Dante won't sell to pay his bills are family heirlooms. The only reason he had Balrog in 5 was because he just got it. Literally just got it and hadn't physically had an opportunity to sell it. Lights off and everything. I'm convinced he was waiting for somebody to walk in and be like, hey, you want this? Like straight up. Lots of people talk about how Dante is much weaker in the anime, and they're right, but it's not really a justifiable comparison. I mean, he's supposed to be getting stronger, power progression and all that. If he was just straight up 100% Dante from the beginning, it just wouldn't make sense. So really, the only viable way to compare him to one of the versions of the game is you have to compare him to DMC3 Dante before he gains any devil arms. And I'm gonna tell you right now, DMC3 Dante is folding Netflix anime Dante, no question. Yes, even without his devil trigger. Don't believe me? We've established that Agni and Rudra are weaker in the anime. I get it. We haven't pointed out any real differences to solidify that just yet, and that's okay. Let's forget I even said it and assume that they're just as strong. DMC3 Dante canonically no diffs them without his devil trigger. He's not out of breath, there's no sigh of relief, none of that, which is different from every time he fights anything more serious like Virgil, where he's actually challenged. That alone is an easy indicator, but then we account for the fact that DMC3 Dante already has Ebony and Ivory. I don't want to hear that they're just guns argument either. These things are durable, and I mean durable. Dante used them to deflect the side swing of a Hell Pride in DMC3, and they're constantly withstanding being pumped full of demonic energy. A single shot from Ebony would straight up shatter not only the regular bullets, but the entire gun that Anime Dante is holding. That's, if Anime Dante doesn't crush the guns himself first. On top of that, Anime Dante will run out of ammo. DMC3 Dante will not. Actually, you know what? Real quick. So, there are two main, Devil May Cry content creators that I see in shorts and everything on YouTube. Lucid and Zero. And I'm not scouring through all of their content, but I just figured I gave you plenty of time to say it, but you ain't said it. I haven't heard either of them talk about Ebony and Ivory, how deep the lore goes here in Devil May Cry 5. I was looking everywhere they have to say something about it. This is one of the greatest things in DMC 5. In my personal opinion, it's the coolest Easter egg there is. So DMC 5 does this thing where it canonizes aspects of the original Devil May Cry prequel novel, right? And a lot of that stuff's really cool, but the coolest thing is that they point out that Ebony and Ivory are made for two completely different purposes. Yeah, Dante can fire them both really quick, okay, whatever. No, Ivory is a rapid fire pistol, and Ebony is a high-powered impact pistol. It's so crazy. You see this stuff in DMC 5. When you switch into Gunslinger, they operate completely differently than they do throughout the regular game. And it's all this cool, beautiful Easter egg nod to the novel. That shit was so sick. It's the best Easter egg I've ever seen in anything. But yeah, I had to say it because I just expected, Lucid and Zero have taught me things about the game that I never knew. So I expected at least one of them to say something about this in a short. Maybe they have. I'm not going through all their content or anything like that. I looked at quite a bit here and there over the last few months just because I love Devil May Cry like that. But yeah, they make great content. I just haven't heard them talk about that. It was just kind of surprising. Anyway, let's move on. So that's pretty much my assessment of like all these different things revolving around Devil May Cry. Listen, when making a piece of entertainment based on a property people already enjoy, the worst thing that could happen, aside from it never taking off, is the cancellation prior to being able to really explore a new direction of the source material. That puts us in a tricky place. Do we remain completely faithful to something that already exists, maintaining our fan base so that we can one day go completely off the rails to see through our own vision, potentially squandering the opportunity in the first place? Or do we just do what we want and be proud of our step into the franchise regardless of how anyone feels? If you're creative, the answer won't surprise you at all. Both. But surprise, the middle ground is actually much closer to the do what you wanted. The reality here is, if you're not going to take a risk, you're not creating. The essence of creativity is being bold. You must take that step into uncharted territory. With that being said, if you're working within a beloved franchise, you must ensure that you are respecting the source material, because the second you don't, you lose the entirety of your existing fan base and then end up with whatever the hell you call Paul W.S. Anderson's version of Resident Evil. I say the Devil May Cry Netflix anime is much better than that. And with some tweaks to certain elements, Season 2 could be just what we needed. Okay, guys, so I hope you enjoyed me rambling on about Devil May Cry. Dude, I love this game, okay? I love the entire franchise. And, it's a big deal for me. I'm so glad that we finally got another swing at the Devil May Cry anime world. If you don't know, there is a prior anime that existed earlier on. When was that? Was that like 2008, 2012, something like that? I can't even remember anymore. I'd have to go back and look, but it was pretty good. It was great. I think that was a solid attempt, and it even has the original voice actors for everybody, Ruben Langdon and everyone. But regardless of all that, if you haven't seen that, you should double back and go watch that as well, because it's already completed. It's a pretty good run. I think it's like somewhere around like 20 episodes or something like that, 24, and I enjoyed it. I think I had it on like DVD or something back then. But go ahead, watch that. Watch the Netflix anime in its entirety. It was good. Yes, like I said earlier, there are things that I didn't 100% agree with, but hey, it is what it is. When it comes to creating, you're not always going to be like, oh, this is exactly what I expected them to do. It has to surprise you. And so, they did what they did, and I feel like Season 2 is probably going to be much more faithful. So, we'll see. If you liked the sketch in the background, I hope you did. I just wanted to throw in some Devil May Cry art because I've wanted to do some for a while. I haven't finished it. It's a sketch, but I haven't fully rendered it. Maybe I'll fully render it later and I'll post it somewhere, or we'll go through the rendering process in another video where we talk about something related to Devil May Cry. With that being said, I'll see you soon.